Okay. Well, it's not a perfect system, but it's going to work, right? This is good. We got wet grass. We got wet gravel. The only thing we don't have yet is a wet jed, but I bet you that's like 2 minutes away. It's going to be good. Well, happy Thursday. How are you doing? Let me know in the comments down below. Are you excited for it was funny, an hour ago, I was all set for this ride and was going to make a point about how finally some good weather. Because there's overcast and could watch the sun go up. Well, it's still perfect weather, but for Oregon, so it almost doesn't count. That's alright though. I had a thought. It started to materialize yesterday and then solidified last night. I had an interesting experience with my kids and then some interesting thoughts later. So I'll explain the lead up. And hopefully we've got enough audio. Literally the microphone is right under my nose. It was not easy trying to figure out where to put the microphone. And it's cold. This is not a warm ride. It's not that bad. It's just that these cotton pants aren't doing me any favors. Anyways, so I joined a community page recently, and I live in a small town. I figured that would offer some protection against the vitriol and crazy people. Yeah, crazy people. True story. Didn't protect against anything, and I've gotten more mad and annoyed more times in the last 72 hours from that than the times I've gotten annoyed at other community. I'm so distracted by talking. I'll have to get used to this. Anyways, I'm more annoyed than I've been with other communities. And I had a thought, because it's something I observed. Now, I observed it about what I was seeing on this community page, but I've been thinking about it. So what I've seen on this community page is a bunch of people missing each other. Really poor explanations for what everybody's thinking. Poor explanations of like people's opinions. Either not thought out answers to questions or just, I don't know, the inability to explain them adequately or explain the answers adequately. And I found myself kind of I was putting myself in the shoes of some of the people answering questions, specifically answering questions, and just as a background, a lot of this revolves around some of our current issues going on that have sort of minimally intersected with the small town that I live in, and anyways, I didn't feel like anybody could explain themselves adequately, and I wasn't really sure why that was happening. And then a few days later, I was watching an interview with the president, and I found myself very annoyed at the interview. I wasn't specifically annoyed at the president. I wasn't necessarily annoyed at the interviewer or the questions being asked, any of that stuff. I found myself very annoyed because I didn't feel like the interviewer was asking the right questions. One of the things that I think is going on in our present time is that I think we do have the opportunity to communicate with each other. I don't mean opportunity like, we happen to talk to somebody on the phone or we meet somebody in the store, but opportunity like when we're talking to somebody, I don't think that, in spite of the tension that's going on seemingly everywhere, that it's a done deal. I don't think that the chapter has been written. I don't think that there's some finalized verdict about how good or bad, but usually bad, the conversation's going to go, particularly when we have opinions that differ from whoever we're talking to. I don't think the verdict's in on that. And I found myself contemplatively, I was thinking about the interview with the president, and I got to thinking about how I didn't feel like the right questions were being asked, and I felt that if the right questions were being asked, a lot of the information that maybe people expect or want, I think that it's there, and you can disagree with me, but I think oftentimes there's a way to ask the questions where things that might sidetrack the person that we're talking to, or things that they might be focused on, there's an option for those to take a back seat. And I don't think that's happening. But it's not just happening in politics, it's not just happening with the president, it's happening in our own everyday lives. I think that it probably is happening even down to the relationships we experience with our family and the people that we love, and maybe even some of our close friends. And the thought behind that, it goes. So here's where the thought began, where something wasn't adding up, and I had an opportunity to kind of. Don't pay attention to me going over the middle line. Just disregard that. I'm a good driver. I may not be a good rider, but good driver, just not driving right now, so just disregard. Things are fine. So the place where this kind of started, and I started to get clued in on some of these thoughts, was last night. I came home and I became aware that my youngest daughter was struggling. She was having a bad time, and the reason that she was having a bad time was because the two older kids were having a hard time. They were struggling with the some of her isms, some of the things that she likes to do, such as yell and scream. That can be trialsome. And so I got to talking to her. I talked to her first, and we were talking about her yelling and screaming, and how oftentimes that can be a lot louder for the people around her than it is for her. That's a hard thing for people to deal with. And I said, I know that you really like to yell and scream, but what can you do instead? Do you like to sing? You like to sing? And I said, because that's what I like to do. I like to sing. And she said, well, people laugh at me when she told me which song she likes to sing. And she said, people laugh at me. And I said, sometimes people are going to laugh at you. And but that's okay. You just got to keep singing, and that'll be just fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And I said, and you can learn more songs. So whenever you feel like you want to yell or you want to scream or something like that, just start singing, and that'll be lovely. And so then, and she handled that pretty well. She seemed to understand what was going on, and that was nice. And so then I got the two oldest kids in, and we were talking about that. And the thing that I kind of wanted to impress upon them was really that the relationship that they're building with Olive is like they want that to be good. Eventually there's not going to be the same, well, there'll always be the age gap, right? But there's not going to be the same maturity gap. Eventually Olive's going to sort of catch up, if you will. And so it really matters. It matters a lot what that relationship looks like, and that even though they're annoyed or even though they're having a hard time dealing with it, that doesn't mean that doesn't mean they just get to not deal with it. So I mean, because essentially they asked her to leave, and because of her yelling and screaming, and I said, you know, what you can do is you can invite her to come and play, come and be with you, and you'd be surprised how much it's going to mean to her to be included and be welcomed into whatever you're doing, whether it's playing or, you know, a video game or a video or whatever it is. That's going to be a blessing to her, and you know, you'll be surprised the type of behavior that's going to bring about. And I think that they received that, but I think that it was and then there was another thing that kind of went hand in hand with that, which was, if you find something that's not working, you've got to try something different. You know, because when, you know, you ask for there to be quiet, or you ask somebody to stop or whatever, and they don't stop and they don't stop and they don't stop, just because it happens 5 times or 10 times or whatever it is, that doesn't mean you give up. You just try something different. There is a solution. There is a way to break through, and they need one another. And so, you know, some of the things that are going on in life that we're seeing, that we're witness to, we really don't have any control over, and that can be frustrating, especially when it's in our face all the time. But it's really important that you remember that those circumstances and situations, they were not the lives that we were called to live. Those aren't the relationships that we're called to steward. And it's not obvious to me how much joy or satisfaction or purpose we're supposed to derive out of those relationships. And that's largely because they're not actually relationships. The stuff that we see online in the news and the stuff that frustrates us and everything else, those aren't relationships. And while it's good to stay informed, it's not obvious to me that it does any additional good other than to stay somewhat informed, or at least, you know a little bit what's going on. And especially in this time, in this culture, you really got to guard yourself, because you know, if you let your guard down, you're going to find yourself overly informed, where you're hearing and you're seeing and you're privy to a lot of information that you don't actually need to have. There's a lot of stuff that we're privy to that we weren't designed to have to deal with. So as you're going through your day and you're wrestling with some stuff maybe that you don't want to wrestle with, or some stuff that's really got you down, I would take a step back if I were you, and I would ask yourself, is this what I was designed for? Is this what I was supposed to have to deal with? Especially the stuff that's outside your realm of influence. If it's not your family, if it's not your co-workers, be really careful about the stuff that you invest your heart in, because it'll get you. And by heart, I mean like your emotions, and, well, it's more than just your heart. Let's be honest here. What you invest your heart in, what you invest in emotionally, and what you invest in mentally, because we only have so much to give. So be thoughtful about that. Remember what it is that your role is, what it is that you're called to do, and the family and friends and loved ones that you're called to serve, because if it's not obvious by now, they're the ones that need your love and support, and need your wisdom, and need your affirmation. And this is certainly a good season to grow in that, so don't lose sight of the direction you're going. There you go. That's it. That's my Thursday thought. It's also, right now, it's not obvious to me that the camera is pointed in the correct direction. I have no idea how much road noise there is. I have no idea what gear I'm in. It's hard to know anything these days. For example, that large green thing up there, is it a rock? Nobody knows. Moss is weird. Could be a rock at the bottom of the tree. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought that trees are just extremely tall moss? That, you know, the seed can grow and all that, and that's great, but have you ever thought that maybe a tree really is just, finds a very small pebble or a stone and then just shoots up from there? It's just moss. I don't know. I think that, that might be worth considering. Which, you know, if you think about it, just to build on that, I just recently purchased a domain name. I haven't put anything up on it yet, but I will eventually. IamAstone.com. It's going to be good. Essentially, what we can extrapolate from that is that while I may never get my hair back, there may be something else that grows off of me. A large tree or fungus. That'd be good. I am wearing green, so it would fit. It's fitting. Green looks good on me. There's no telling what tales I'll there's no telling what tales I'll tell when I'm 6 feet deep. Man, it could have come out smoother if I hadn't stuttered. You're welcome. Yeah, this is sort of funny because I took the 20 or 22 minute drive today when I probably only really had about 15 minutes worth of stuff to talk about. Nice. So I would feel weird if I just stopped talking for the entire rest of this ride. So you're gonna hear me, and it'll be less weird eventually. What are some other thoughts that I had today and yesterday? Well, it's wet. That wasn't a thought that I had yesterday, but it's a thought that I have now. What else? I had 2 extra pieces of pizza because he didn't want any. Well, he did want some. He didn't want the 2 pieces that I ate. In fact, I would venture to say that most of the time people don't want the things that I eat. You get what I'm saying here? Like, not the things I want to eat, but the things I eat. Yeah, who knows when you're watching this? You might not be enough awake to get my jokes, but I'll help you. It'll be okay. So that was one thought, and then apparently burned out headlights are the banes of existence. You get pulled over by all the cops. You're welcome. It was my car that you were borrowing, and you got pulled over for it. You didn't get a ticket, but for all that adrenaline rush, I did that. So you're welcome. And what else? Yeah, it's weird the things that you get anxiety about. I saw that it was raining. It's not even raining that hard, but I'm still missing part of my roof. So I need it to be like a nearly indefinite amount of time that it's overcast. That would be great. That would be great. Overcast would be great. Oh, there's a truck there. Things are fine. Anything? Anything? There we go. Look at this. This is exciting. Yep. Apparently I need to go to bed. Well, anyways, there you go. This is the last, can't even tell if it's in the shot. Well, when you watch this, you're welcome. Unless it's not in the shot, in which case, I'm sorry. I screwed up. Should have done this at the beginning of the day rather than the end of the day. Could have been a drier experience. But, yeah, thanks for hanging out. And I'll talk to you later. I'm going to see if I can press the record button. Can I do it? Hold it. Wait for it. There we go. Okay.